Welcome to the Economist in Your Ear podcast. As the world shifts to electric vehicles, we often find ourselves, searching for a single capital, right? A new Motown to lead the charge. But what if that very notion of manufacturing dominance? What if it isn't about one powerhouse city anymore, but something far more intricate and spread out? Today, we're diving into the intense competition among Chinese cities vying to become the undisputed global hub for electric vehicles. We've been looking at a fascinating piece from The Economist that points to Chongqing, with its distinctive cyberpunk-style skyline as a top contender. It even suggests Chongqing could be the Detroit of EVs. But it makes you wonder, is that framing, that idea of a single, all-encompassing automotive capital, is it still accurate for today's incredibly complex, globally interconnected supply chains?
That's an absolutely pivotal question.
Yeah.
Because if we connect this to the broader landscape of modern manufacturing, the very concept of a singular Detroit, well, it might just be an outdated one, especially when we consider an industry as complex and, frankly, rapidly evolving as electric vehicles. Our goal today is to really unpack the core arguments presented in the article, sure, but maybe more importantly, to challenge some of their underlying assumptions and hopefully provide you with a much more nuanced, sort of contemporary understanding of what's truly happening on the ground.
Okay, let's explore this then. The Economist article, it paints a very vivid picture of Chongqing's ambition. It highlights its staggering automotive output, something like 2.5 million vehicles just last year, which has earned it that informal title, Motown of China. The aspiration seems crystal clear. Replicate Detroit's historic role, but for EVs this time. It sounds like they have their sights set firmly on that crown.
And what's particularly striking here, I think, is that while Chongqing's capabilities are formidable, really impressive, it's far from being the only player with such grand ambitions. The article itself really underscores just how remarkably distributed China's EV production capacity has become.
Yeah.
I mean, consider this. Last year alone, 12 different regions across China produced over 1 million vehicles. 12. And 4 of those turned out more than 2 million. This isn't really a winner-take-all scenario. It's much more like a sprawling, multi-front competition.
Right. Right. And as you start looking around, you hear names like Guangdong, obviously home to industry giant BYD. Then there's Wuhan, a city that also openly declares its desire to be China's Detroit. And then you've got Changchun and Hefei in Anhui province, all with remarkably similar high-stakes aspirations. It's almost like every major industrial city wants a piece of this electric pie.
Well, this intense regional competition isn't just about bragging rights. It's absolutely crucial for their local economies. Many local governments have made a strategic, really fundamental pivot. They're shifting their focus, their investment, away from property development, which, let's face it, was a huge driver of growth for years, towards advanced manufacturing. They clearly see the automotive industry, and particularly EVs, as the key growth pillar for their future. And the stakes are incredibly high. I mean, car manufacturing now accounts for a significant 5% of China's GDP. So regional dominance in this sector translates directly into jobs, investment, prosperity.
Chongqing's journey really stands out, though. It's a testament to its incredible adaptability. You picture the city, famous for its dramatic skyline, spicy food, undergoing this rapid industrial metamorphosis. By 2016, it was already a petrol car powerhouse, churning out over 3 million vehicles annually, huge numbers. Then, almost overnight it feels like, the market pivoted dramatically towards EVs, demanding a complete overhaul of the supply chain. Yet Chongqing didn't just adapt, it sprinted ahead. EVs now make up more than 50% of China's total car sales, a massive leap from just 5% back in 2018. That required an entirely new kind of manufacturing ecosystem, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And Chongqing truly embraced that radical transition. One key move was when BYD, a global leader in batteries and EVs, established a major battery factory there in 2019. That acted like a magnet, attracting further significant investment. It signaled something. Then, private automaker series opened a new cutting-edge production base in 2021. And Chang'an, a state-owned enterprise with deep roots in the city, has aggressively poured resources into EV development, launching impressive new brands like Deepal and Avatri. What's also been critical to their success, I think, is their proactive cooperation with major tech companies. Think Huawei, integrating advanced software, connectivity. That's key now.
What's particularly compelling when you look at cities like Chongqing and Anhui, both inland, right, and each producing around 2.5 million vehicles last year, is how strategically they're leveraging their competitive advantages beyond just industrial capacity. They have significantly lower housing and living costs compared to bustling coastal areas like Shanghai or Shenzhen. That has to matter.
Oh, hugely.
It becomes this powerful draw for skilled talent, from engineers to factory workers. Chongqing, in particular, with its rich culture, unique philosophy, vibrant nightlife, it uses these strengths to compete for and retain workers, making it a genuinely appealing place to not just work, but, to build a life.
Yeah, and that strategy of tapping into inherent regional qualities, going beyond mere industrial output, it's becoming increasingly critical. It's part of the broader national and even global competition for both talent and investment. It's no longer just about where you can build a factory most cheaply, right? It's about cultivating a holistic ecosystem that supports innovation, attracts skilled labor, and offers a sustainable quality of life. That cultural and lifestyle appeal, well, it can be a surprisingly powerful differentiator in a crowded market.
Okay, so that's the historical picture, the buildup. But what happens when we zoom in on the very latest data? What have the past few months, say mid-2025, revealed about how these trends are actually playing out on the ground? Because new signals can either sharpen or, well, perhaps even blunt some of those initial arguments about who's leading.
Indeed. And it's interesting. While Chongqing has proven itself a very strong contender, no doubt, current data shows that Guangdong still holds a significant lead. We're talking approximately 3 million vehicles produced there, and about half of those now are EVs. That's huge. Chongqing and Anhui, they're hovering closer to the 2.5 million mark each. So this tells us that the crown for China's car-making powerhouse isn't resting on one head. It's already split. It's split between a coastal battery and tech powerhouse in Guangdong and these two formidable inland hubs that capitalize on cost advantages. It's a diversified leadership, not a single winner.
And it's not just about domestic players making moves, right? We're seeing multinational private investment continuing its notable shift inland. You mentioned Volkswagen, for example. They're pouring an additional $2.5 billion into their Hefei campus, adding a second production line and, critically, an R&D center specifically for solid-state batteries.
Yeah.
That's a massive vote of confidence, a clear strategic move.
Yeah, that VW investment really underscores the point. Multinationals are following the siren call of, well, labor cost advantages and the robust government support offered by these inland regions. They're not necessarily chasing some nostalgic Motown label. They're pursuing strategic economic benefits, plain and simple. And speaking of domestic players, Chang'an's EV push is gaining significant, really undeniable scale. Their Deepal and Avitry brands saw May sales surge by an astonishing 70% year over year. 70%, reaching 95,000 units. This rapid growth positions Chang'an as China's #3 EV player, right behind BYD and Geely. So this means Chongqing isn't just a parts or assembly hub anymore. It's now home to a truly national, high-volume EV contender.
That sounds incredibly ambitious, though. So much production gearing up. But when I hear massive capacity, a red flag kind of goes up for me. Are we talking about a potential oversupply in the battery market? Is that a risk?
That's a very astute observation. And yes, absolutely, it's a major concern. Projections show that China's installed cell capacity could reach a staggering 4,200 gigawatts by 2025. Gigawatt hours. It's a monumental amount of energy storage. What's truly concerning is that this figure is potentially 4 times the projected market demand if all the current projects proceed as planned. 4 times. This means any single Detroit that emerges might inherit not just the glory of leadership, but potentially a massive amount of stranded assets due to this overwhelming overcapacity. It raises a serious question about the long-term sustainability of such explosive growth.
Okay, but on a more positive note for these inland hubs, it seems they are significantly improving their export game. That's traditionally been a challenge for landlocked regions. Rail logistics are apparently narrowing those geographic gaps quite rapidly. We're now seeing daily China-Europe trains moving finished EVs, even battery packs, from Chongqing's Tuanji hub all the way to Duisburg in Germany. And they're doing it in just 15 to 17 days. That's, well, it's significantly cheaper than air freight, obviously, but also a full 2 weeks faster than traditional sea shipping. For an inland city, that's nothing short of a game changer, surely.
That absolutely is, yeah. This logistical leap fundamentally alters the competitive landscape for these interior regions. It dramatically reduces their traditional inland export handicap. It strengthens Chongqing's bid for a major sustainable role in international trade, making it a much more viable and attractive hub for global distribution, far beyond just domestic sales. It's a powerful illustration of how infrastructure investments can really reshape industrial geography.
Which brings us back, I think, to that really crucial question we started with. Given this intricate, evolving landscape, is the Detroit metaphor even the right one for China's EV future? It feels like we're trying to fit a very new, dynamic industry into an old, maybe outdated model.
That's a critical point, and frankly, I'd argue it's quite misleading.
Yeah.
The Detroit model we're referencing, it's deeply rooted in the 1950s, right? When a single city could host these sprawling, vertically integrated factories. They did everything from processing raw materials to final vehicle assembly, controlling almost the entire production chain under one roof, at least within one concentrated area. But today's EV supply chains, they're inherently modular and incredibly distributed. It's almost like a global jigsaw puzzle. You might have battery cells produced down in Guangxi, battery packs assembled up in Hefei, the final vehicle put together in Wuhan, and the cutting-edge software developed hundreds of miles away in Shenzhen. All these different components coming together for the very same 2025 vehicle model. The idea of a single city dominating, with everything concentrated in one place, it simply doesn't fit this modern platform plus contract manufacturing landscape. It's a completely different beast.
So if the process is so distributed, then the argument that cost advantage makes inland hubs inevitable. Maybe that's too simplistic. It sounds like there are far more complex factors at play besides just cheaper labor or land.
Precisely.
Yeah.
While lower wages are certainly an attractive proposition for inland regions, sure, logistics still impose a significant cost. Shipping a car from Chongqing, for instance, still adds approximately $350 per vehicle compared to shipping from a coastal city like Shanghai via sea freight. And even with those impressive rail corridors improving, sustained export competitiveness hinges on a whole myriad of external factors. We're talking about things like tariff headwinds from international trade disputes, the compatibility of charging networks abroad. It's not merely about internal wage differentials. It's a complex equation involving geopolitics, global infrastructure, far beyond just an internal cost-benefit analysis.
And that other point you made, the idea that just having battery factories guarantees leadership, also needs a much closer look, especially with that looming overcapacity issue hanging over everything. It's not just about having the factories, is it? It's about what kind of batteries they're producing and how they fit into a forward-looking strategy.
You're absolutely right. With that projected 4 times demand capacity potentially coming online, the game isn't just about how many gigawatt hours a region can churn out. It's increasingly about how cheap and how safe those batteries are, and critically, how innovative they are. The industry's focus is rapidly shifting to next-generation chemistries. Things like solid-state battery pilots, which promise much higher energy density and safety, or sodium-ion diversification, which is a potentially cheaper, more sustainable alternative to lithium-ion that's gaining significant traction. Beyond just production, there's an increasing emphasis on closed-loop recycling, making the whole process sustainable. So regions that master these new advanced technologies and sustainable practices like Guangdong, which is leading with BYD's sodium-ion line, they may very well leapfrog the high-volume but maybe more conventional cell hubs. It's about future-proofing and innovation, not just raw volume today.
Okay, so if it's not about crowning a single Detroit, what truly decides the pecking order in China's EV future? What are the real drivers of success and perhaps dominance in this rapidly changing landscape?
Well, if we connect all these threads to the bigger picture, it ultimately boils down to several interconnected critical factors. First and foremost, I'd say, software and chips. I mean, think about how much of a modern car's personality, its function, now resides in its software, how over-the-air updates define the ownership experience. This isn't just about adding a new component, it's a fundamental rewiring of the industry's entire value chain. Cities that can cultivate a robust tech stack like Guangdong's Shenzhen, home to BYD, Xiaomi, Huawei, or Hefei, with its VW-Xpeng joint software-defined vehicle lab. They may ultimately outweigh sheer vehicle production numbers. It's a clear shift from, hardware is king to intelligence is king.
That suggests a really profound reorientation of value, doesn't it? From the physical metal and batteries to the digital intelligence that actually powers them. What else is critical?
Next up, I'd put tariff resilience. This is becoming huge. As global trade policies evolve and often become more protectionist, coastal provinces like Guangdong and Jiangsu, with their direct port access, have a significant advantage. They can, for example, fast ship hybrid vehicles to Europe, potentially allowing them to dodge or mitigate incoming EV duties more easily. Inland cities like Chongqing, while improving rail, are still more reliant on that or higher-cost sea transshipment, which could become a notable disadvantage depending on where tariffs land.
And thinking beyond the traditional big markets, Europe or the US, What about other crucial export destinations? Where is the most promising growth really lie for these Chinese manufacturers?
That brings us neatly to the export portfolio. And we've seen fascinating shifts here recently. ASEAN demand, for instance, grew by a robust 16% in the first half of this year. 16%. That significantly outperformed the EU's 9% growth during the same period. And it helps offset some of the inherent risks in the U.S. market right now. So cities that are well connected to RCEP, that's the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Trade Agreement, cities like Guangxi and Fujian, they could very well siphon momentum from other regions, simply due to their strategic positioning for these high-growth, potentially less tariff-burdened markets.
And finally, it sounds like how these regions manage growth and maybe even manage decline or consolidation is just as important as generating the growth in the first place. There's a crucial sustainability and long-term planning aspect to all of this intense competition.
Exactly. Capacity discipline will be paramount. It has to be. In an environment facing potential massive oversupply, regions that proactively and intelligently, cull idle battery production lines and embrace comprehensive policies for battery reuse and recycling will be far better positioned. This allows them to avoid those profit-crushing gluts, maintain healthier supply chains, and crucially, keep their suppliers solvent in the long run. It's about smart, managed growth and a circular economy approach, not just explosive, unchecked expansion at any cost.
So pulling this all together, what does this really mean for China's electric vehicle future? It certainly seems that the idea of a single EV Detroit might be, well, maybe a romantic notion, perhaps a relic from a bygone industrial era.
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is that China is highly unlikely to crown a single, all-encompassing EV capital. That ship seems to have sailed. Instead, what's clearly forming is an incredibly dynamic, interconnected network. It's like a web. You have these cost-competitive inland manufacturing plants, yes, but also highly sophisticated coastal tech clusters and increasingly efficient export corridors linking them. While Chongqing is undoubtedly formidable, bolstered by Chang'an's rapid rise, BYD's battery prowess, and that crucial rail bridge to Europe, Guangdong still leads in critical areas like advanced batteries and cutting-edge software development. And Hefei, often overlooked perhaps, is attracting really significant multinational R&D investment, which points to its future importance in innovation.
The real winner, then, isn't necessarily any one city's skyline dominating the horizon, but rather China's overall supply chain agility, its incredible adaptability, and its strategic distribution of capabilities across multiple specialized hubs. It's a testament to a complex, evolving industrial landscape that really defies those simple, old labels.
And this raises, I think, an important final question for all of us to consider. What implications does this highly distributed, deeply interconnected model have for other major manufacturing industries around the world? Or even for global supply chains more generally? How might this Chinese experience shape future industrial development and economic competition far beyond just electric vehicles? It's something worth watching closely.